Welcome back to Better Than I Found It, the podcast all things college golf. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University. Today's guest is Matt Thurmond, the men's golf coach at Arizona State University. Through the years, Matt's teams have seen incredible success. He's now in his 8th year at Arizona State and previously at the University of Washington for 15 years. As I've said on numerous occasions on this podcast, success does leave clues. And after listening to Matt describe his coaching style, it's easy to see why he's been so good for so long. I've always observed that Matt's teams appear to be having a lot of fun. As you'll hear in this conversation, having fun is definitely intentional. Enjoy the listening. Okay, Better Than I Found It listeners, let's welcome Arizona State Sun Devil coach Matt Thurmond to the podcast. Matt, thanks for coming on here today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a little while. There's so many guys that I want to talk to in the coaching profession. I can't get to them all as quickly as I'd like. You're one I've been thinking about for a while, and I really do appreciate you taking the time. But I guess I should just start with asking you about your most recent tournament. It was a pretty amazing tournament over in Hawaii, the Amari at Mauna Lani in Hawaii last week. Your Sun Devils finished runner-up to North Carolina. Obviously, we know North Carolina has a great team this year, but 63 under par, finishes runner-up. I mean, my gosh, those are some incredible scores out there.
Yeah, that's been the big story in really all of golf lately is these crazy scores that everybody's shooting. We shot the week before, we shot 49 under at Tucson National in Arizona's event, and we finished third. We only lost by 2 strokes there, but I mean, it's just a different mentality, a different way to play, and maybe these courses weren't set up super tough, but we've been playing those same courses for a lot of years and not getting those scores. So they're definitely better than ever. They have a mentality of just go, 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 and in the case of my guy, Winyi Ding, I've never seen somebody play 54 holes without really missing a shot. He shot 27 under par for 54 holes, which is the all-time college 54-hole scoring record.
Yeah, tell me about this kid. I haven't seen him in person yet. This is pretty amazing to do that. That's unreal, unheard of.
Yeah, he's he's long awaited, anticipated recruit. I first found him, I guess is what you would say, at the 2019 Asia Pacific Amateur. I was there to watch Kevin Yu and James Liao and Wan Jun Lee. I've gone to this tournament occasionally. There's not a lot of recruits there, but I was there watching my guys, supporting them in Shanghai. And I saw this 14-year-old kid on the range hitting balls, and he looked pretty good. And so I started paying attention. He starts winning pro events, and as a 14-year-old, and he's getting better and better. And I have some good contacts in China, and we're able to learn about him more and follow him, and then finally got to talk to him. And I think we had him committed before anybody really knew he existed. And then he came over the next year and he won the US Junior Amateur. I think for the longest time, everybody said, well, is he really going to show up? He's been playing a lot of pro events, DP World Tour and Asian Tour, and people didn't think he would show up. Well, he's here, and he's making his presence felt.
Oh, he really is. That's really impressive. And you mentioned something about all these years you've been playing these golf courses, haven't seen these results. I think one of the greatest things about this generation is, now it also is a little bit of a weakness, but the instant gratification that they want, actually, they're not afraid to do really special things. Look at Nick Dunlap a couple of weeks ago. This generation is starting to realize you can go as low as you want. I've never seen scoring, and I know scoring records are vulnerable at best, but man, they're just breaking the lid off of these things.
Yeah, it's cool to see that. I mean, everybody talks about the 4-minute mile and how that was a mental barrier. I remember growing up, Al Geiberger's 59 was talked about for decades, decades, and as being this almost unreachable thing. And now you have it, not common, but people are doing it. And same thing in college golf, like these scores that are being shot. I mean, think of that, 27 under par for 54 holes. That's birdieing half the holes. This guy, he shoots 63, 64 in the first 2 rounds. He's got like a 4-shot lead. And most of us and most guys we've coached are nervous and scared all night, and they show up the next morning and they kind of limp it off the first tee and hang in there and try to get comfortable at some point and eke out a victory, right? Hold on to the lead. I mean, he birdies the first 5 holes of the final round.
Well, I, for one, can't wait to see him play sometime this spring, and maybe at your event in April. And I know who he is, obviously, but I've 27 under par is hard for me to compute. I'd love to see how a guy does that. Um, Matt, you've been at ASU for 8 years. I think this is your 8th year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This generation of junior golfers, college golfers, they think of you as the Arizona State coach. And even young coaches think the same thing. It's like, oh, he's at Arizona State. But they forget, prior to that, you spent 15 pretty awesome years at the University of Washington. So I want to start kind of talking a little bit about that, because I know it was a special time in your career. Just a quick statistical overview of that. 12 times in those 15 years, your teams made it to the NCAA championship. 3 of those times you made match play in 2009, 10, and 12. You had 25 total All-Americans, 8 of those first team All-Americans. 3 Pac-12 titles in 2005, 9, and 10. And he coached James Lepp to an NCAA individual title in 2005. That's some pretty heady numbers for the University of Washington that they hadn't seen before you got there. And I know that OD was doing a great job before, but wow, that was a great run you had.
It's a very, very special time for me. I grew up in the state of Washington, and that was the school I grew up watching. So just to have the opportunity to be hired there, I thank Odie for that. He hired me as his assistant coach right out of college for me. I'd coached 1 year at BYU, my alma mater, and then Odie hired me. I was the assistant coach for both men and women, and he left coaching at the time for a year, and they hired me. I just turned 26. I don't think they would do that now, but they did at the time. And Odie had kind of left the cupboard full for me. And
he did. Yeah, he did. He had a good team.
Yeah. And I just learned so much from him in that 1 year. And it wasn't just that 1 year. We kept in touch, probably talked every day for years about everything we were doing. So he was a major help to me. But I was just fortunate to have a lot of really good players there. And we built a culture that sustained it. And we had an edge about us, and we had a lot of fun, and we competed hard, and we had just a really dynamic group of players. And you mentioned Nick, you mentioned James Lepp. There was Nick Taylor, there was Chris Williams, there was Richard Lee, there was CT Pan. There was appearances for a year by Joel Damon, and other players too that were. I mean, Brock McKenzie on the front end of that was a superstar, and Corey Pereiras and Carl Ewens and Darren Wallace, Chris Kilmer. I mean, Zach Bixler. We had just such awesome players for a long time, and I never thought I'd leave there. I thought I would be there forever. But so to even have this conversation like that was a long time ago seems kind of strange to me, because it really does feel like yesterday in a lot of ways.
Well, and we had the opportunity when I was at Oklahoma State to see you all quite often. You hosted some events that we came out and played. I always appreciated the way you coached your team, but I also think at the time I probably wasn't having as much fun as I should have, and I documented that in a book I wrote. That I let the pressure of the expectations of what I was going through kind of engulf me for several years. But I always thought you looked like you were having so much fun, and I noticed that you would schedule, if it was a trip to Hawaii or a trip to a nice place, you'd schedule something else fun outside of golf for your players. Talk to me about how you make it look fun from the outside. Is it that much fun when you're doing it?
I think it is, and it's a good reminder for me too. I think if anything, maybe I'm having a little less fun too. I think sometimes as the stakes get higher, there's so much money in it. I don't mean like coaches being paid. I'm talking about player money and opportunity nowadays. You have to really be careful. But funny story, we used to take a winter retreat, and it would be like in January to start the year, and we'd have a weekend away, and we'd form kind of who we are as a team during that time. We always had our seniors give the kind of this final speech, and it was emotional, and we'd have skits and top tens from the previous year, like go over all the highlights. But In 2005, January of 2005, James Lepp was there. He was kind of our captain leader. I said, you know what? And I've always said this with my team, like, this is your team, guys. I have responsibility for it. I know I set the tone, but I'm not dumb enough to know that it's anything but you guys that are going to determine what really happens. I can't control everything. So it's going to be you. And I said, you guys go in this other room and I want you to, talk as long as it takes. James is going to lead the discussion. And you come out telling me what we're going to be all about this spring. What is it that's going to make us special and unique? And so it was John Rehorn and I, and we sat out in the living room and did some other stuff. And this goes on for a couple hours, right? This is 3 hours. And they finally come out and like, we got it. We got what we're all going to be about. And I'm thinking, we're going to be the best, putting team, or we're going to be the toughest, or no one's going to prepare more than us or work hard. All those things that a coach wants to hear, right?
Right.
They come out and I said, we just decided we're going to have more fun than any team. I'm like, oh no, that's not it. But I said, okay, that's awesome. I said, if that's the goal, we're doing it. We're going to do what we say we're going to do, and we're going to have more fun. And so I kind of reluctantly fell into that. I think we were having fun in the first place because I was young and I was kind of an angle that I had. But I think over the following years, we realized that having fun isn't a diversion. It's an actual competitive strategy that worked out well for us. Not only was it attractive for people to want to be a part of and that we're drawn to, but our players played loose, they played confident, they enjoyed what they were doing. And I found that when people are having fun doing what they're doing, they're going to do it a lot longer than if they're not having fun. So it's become kind of a powerful principle for me. If you really enjoy every day, if I make this environment one that people can't get enough of, they will have a club in their hand all the time. And they'll form close bonds with each other through that. And so it kind of started there, and it worked out really well for us. We've continued to do that. It became, something that I believe really helped us succeed competitively. And as far you brought up the activities, and we did a lot of fun activities for sure. But what we always said is having fun is not an activity. It's not what you do. It's the spirit with which you do everything. So we tried to have fun doing nothing too.
It wasn't my imagination, Matt. It was something you had created, and I knew it, and I finally got you to tell the world about it. It was so obvious to me, but I was being engulfed in the stress of what I was doing at the time. So if I've been a good reminder for you now that you're at Arizona State and you have achieved really great things there, hopefully I was a reminder for you. I want all coaches to remember this is about those kids and having the most amazing experience and having them get better and having them grow together, toward each other instead of just a result. And you're going to get good results anyway when you have good players, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's too bad that having fun kind of comes across as not working hard. You probably feel that, like, if you're out, and I felt that at times, like I almost had to explain to people, like, no, it's okay to have fun. Like, there's this idea in sport from the outsider, I suppose, that everything has to be so serious and you have to work so hard. And then if you're laughing a little bit or you don't take it yourself too seriously, that you're not trying as hard. And I think it's kind of the opposite, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that when anybody that loves what they're doing and enjoys what they're doing are going to do it better. You said earlier, longer. Yeah, they'll do it longer, but they'll also do it way better.
Yeah.
And I always wondered why your teams looked like they were playing so free and easy and loose, and mine were not. Now, I had really good players, so I had really good teams, but I think my players would have benefited from that point of view. And I think the Baylor Bears are going to catch a little bit of that this spring. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Well, I need to keep it going myself.
Yes, you do. And you've created some expectations out there. You finished in the top 5 in the last 3 NCAA championships. So obviously the success is there. You've got a great team again this year. But I want to ask you about the perspective of hosting. You hosted the national championship at Grayhawk 3 consecutive years. When I was at Oklahoma State as an assistant, I hosted the 2003. And in those days, you literally did everything if you were the tournament manager, everything. I know today it's not the same. But then we hosted again in 2011. Both times, I knew it was an advantage to be hosting. It's certainly an advantage to play a golf course that you play a lot. But there's also some inherent challenges. So I want you to kind of tell the people, not to say that it's a disadvantage to host. It's definitely an advantage. But what are the challenges, and what was your experience hosting it 3 straight years?
So the challenges, I think there are a lot of advantages. We did take away some of those advantages by aggressively pushing to let anybody play it as much as they want.
Yes.
So it was a very known course, and a lot of the teams that played it in competition every bit as much as we did. That if they played it 3 years in a row and came out for all the tournaments and stuff, So, but still, we got to play it. It's our hometown. Of course, there's an advantage. The disadvantage I would say for us is that it made the NCAA championship. It put a lot of focus on it, and we play a lot of courses around town. Greyhawk wasn't our only course. We go, every week we're at 2 or 3 different places around town, and wherever you go, whatever you do, someone's talking about Greyhawk, talking about the NCAA championship, and so you just put this massive like pressure on this thing that you knew was looming in the distance. And I'd say the biggest pressure for hosting the NCAA championship isn't the NCAA championship. It's the pressure on the regional, because you have, literally like $1 million+ going into host this thing, and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers and all these weekly meetings for years. And you have this thought in the back of your mind, like, well, do they realize that it's not easy to even get to this? And regionals is always touch and go. And so I literally at regionals was, physically ill. And I'm a guy that is pretty relaxed. And I've never felt what I felt the last 3 regionals, like just this sickness in my stomach. And even the days after, having a hard time kind of recovering. I didn't feel it as much at the NCAA championship. It's like once we got there, look, I got a good team. I think we'll play well. We'll be in the hunt. And that was actually not too bad hosting. In fact, if anything, it was pretty awesome. We had a lot of fans out there, people cheering for us. They're into it. The community embraced it. But let me tell you, the regionals is where I felt it the most as far as the pressure.
So that is a very good point. And when we got the bid for the 2011, I was the head coach at Oklahoma State. And I said a little prayer that day. I didn't ask God to help us win the championship. I just said, God, please have us play well at regionals. Just make sure we're there. And I knew I would probably be there, and I knew I would have a good team. But you're right. The regional, I think hosting a regional is the greatest advantage in all of college golf, because it's just a familiarity you have. Man, if you're hosting and you're not there, and I counted on just out of my brain here, Matt, on 7 occasions since I've been in college golf, at least, the host team was not at the national championship.
Yeah.
That's a rough thing.
That's rough. That's rough. And there was a lot of kind of, I think, criticism and I'm fine with this. Maybe I would have been the same way too, but from other coaches, how can Arizona State have it 3 years in a row? I'm thinking, man, nobody that's ever hosted it is going to be criticizing that, because they know what we're in for and how much work this is going to take. Because it is a massive undertaking. I'm super thankful to ASU, to Greyhawk, to Thunderbirds, and everybody who put all the time and energy to do that. Hopefully we did it well and made the sport better in some way. And it was fun to host. And I'm people still think, oh, it's too bad you guys didn't win a championship while it was here. That was kind of the plan, right? But we were in match play every year. We were in the final match. We were in the semifinals. We played to the end, and we were in it. And I think our fans enjoyed it. And
you did a fantastic job. Our players really loved the experience last year, and we did not play well, but we really loved the experience. You guys did a great job. And Greyhawk, honestly, was way more difficult than I had remembered it from when I recruited at the Thunderbird Junior. It had challenges. It was a hard golf course. I was very impressed.
Yeah, the scoring turned out to be tough, and pretty much every year the top all the teams that made match play were kind of top 10 or 11 ranked teams. So it say what you want about it, it did a good job of identifying the top teams.
Yeah, and you bring up that point. I remember there was a lot of criticism in 2003 when Karsten Creek played just brutal. It was so brutal, and there was no weather conditions that week. But the top 5 teams coming into the national championship finished 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That was
How about
stroke play
that?
at the time. So I think it's great when the competition is on a tough golf course because generally the better teams will figure out a way to get to the top. And that's what happened at Greyhawk. You did a great job. Let's talk about the 22 championship. Most vivid memories of that week when you finished runner-up to Texas. They had a loaded team and some great players that are playing professional golf now. What's your most vivid memory of that near win in the national championship?
My most vivid memory of that would be just the 18th hole. It came down to the 18th hole, and Cameron Sisk was playing Travis Vick. Travis Vick was 1 up. It's basically 2-2, and Travis didn't hit a great tee shot, and I can't remember where it was exactly. Cam was in the fairway. Travis hit a really nice shot to the back of the green, about 50 feet. And I just remember looking around on the ropes, and there was silence, but it was about 5 people deep on the entire hole, and just the moment. And I remember standing out there with Cameron and just thinking like, this is, how great is this? We may win, we may lose, but just being here in this moment is what people dream about. This is a lifetime highlight. And Travis Vick ended up making a great 2-putt to secure the win for Texas. But that could have gone any way. A couple other things could have gone different ways at the very end there too. But I just remember soaking up the moment, looking around, thinking, man, all these eyes and not only like, you go to these pro events and there's people having side conversations and they're kind of half watching, half socializing. Every eye and every mind was on the shot and the intention and the intensity of it. And anybody that was in that moment understands the intensity of that hole was, I mean, unbelievable intensity and focus and quietness out there. It was really awesome.
That's great. Great memory. And that's another thing. Our championship is on TV and has been for several years. And I love the fact that our championship is being exposed to the whole world of golf. College golf is very real to people now. And you all did a fantastic job hosting 3 years that advanced our tournament, our championship, our sport forward. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do at La Costa the next 3 years. Should be great.
Yeah, me too.
You've now had 18 teams, I think, advance to the NCAA championship. What's your best coaching memory, and would it be the one you just described at the national championship? Anything stand out?
Yeah, that was a great moment. I think last year we played Stanford. We had tied for 8th, and we got to play in a playoff. That was really fun too.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm speaking about the NCAA championship, I'm probably like the NCAA championship for me. Well, I've been to 18 of them, and we've been close. We've been close every time. It's always ended in pain and heartbreak because I want to win, and anything coming up short is still painful. No worse than 2006 when you won, by the way, and we were leading early in that round and ended up finishing 11th or 9th or something, 9th, I think it was. But anyway, 2005 James Lepp is probably my most dominant memory because it was a memory where we ended up winning. We were happy at the end for once, and we were kind of out of it. Georgia Tech and Georgia had distanced themselves, and there was a bunch of teams kind of. The best one would finish 3rd. And I remember walking from the van to the course that day at Caves Valley, and James and I were kind of walking behind the group, and I said, James, because he was 6 behind Michael Putnam. I said, you could still win this thing. And he says, I'm gonna. And so James warms up and he goes out and he plays the back 9 first, plays it pretty well. And then and he goes and plays the front 9 and he's making a bunch of birdies. I'm actually watching through the binoculars and I'm working with everybody else. And I didn't want to bother James because he's in the zone. And he comes up to me on like the 15th hole after having birdied a handful of holes on the front 9 already on his back 9, asking me how everybody's doing. And I said, and I told him everybody's score and how they're doing. I have always been one to, if someone asks, I tell them. I'm not trying to hide it.
Yep.
And he goes, I said, all right. And I didn't ask him how he was doing. And he hadn't seen me around. And he says, well, as I walk away, he's like, well, I'm doing good. I said, I know, James. I know. Keep it up. Well, he ends up shooting 63, ties for first, and goes into a playoff. And this playoff starts on the 18th hole. Michael Putnam hits the green. James hits it in the bunker. Michael legs it up. And James has about hits a great bunker shot. I think has like a 10-footer left to right to stay in it, makes it. And then we go to hole 9, and we're walking off the tee after they both hit the drives. And James looks at me and he's like, "Oh my gosh," he goes, "I've never been so nervous. I couldn't tee up my ball. My hand was shaking so much on that tee. I couldn't even tee the ball up, my hand." And so they tie that hole too. And then they go back to 18. And again, Michael, I think made a mistake here and 3-putted, and James had like a 4-footer outside left, a big breaking putt to win. And he just stepped up calmly and rolled it in and wins the national championship. And afterwards he says, I'm like, "Man, how nervous were you on that?" He's like, "Oh, I wasn't nervous at all on that one. That was easy." And I'm like, "You couldn't tee up the ball on the last hole, but a 4-foot left to right, outside left to win a national championship was easy." Winning that was a big deal for him, big deal for me. And I just will never forget how cool that playoff was.
Yeah, I remember James being an incredible competitor as well. So it doesn't surprise me he would have made that putt. Um, so I have a quote that I've heard, and it's relating to employees or perhaps team members. That it says, "Teach them so well they're ready to leave, but treat them so well they won't want to." So I don't know if you've heard that quote or not, but I like it. And it reminds me of assistant coaches. You've got to do both of those things with your assistant coaches. You teach them so well that they're ready to go when their opportunity comes, but it's like they're going, "Gosh, I really don't want to leave." You've done a great job with your assistant coaches. I've watched, and one of them, or five of them are currently coaching Division I teams. Um, that's incredible. That's a great coaching tree. What are some of the things assistant coaches have brought to the table that made you a better coach? Can you name 2 or 3?
Of course. And they've all brought a lot. I think it all started with me being assistant for Bruce and Odie, and Odie brought me in on everything. And that's how it's been with me and assistant coaches. Is there's no, if you were to just watch us on a daily basis, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell who's the head coach and who's the assistant, because I give them everything. And they make offers to recruits, and they discipline players, and they run practice, and they meet with big donors. And I mean, there's nothing they don't do. So if I look back on my career, if you're starting a coaching career and you think about what it's going to be, you think about the players all the time and the wins. And I got to say that maybe my relationships with these assistant coaches that I've built, and their success is the best part of the whole thing. You're really, the relationships that you develop with them being kind of in it together, and no one can understand what that's like except for them. And it's really, really awesome. And I still communicate with them on a daily basis. We're very close. And I learned that from Odie. Like, he just would share anything and everything. And you give a lot and it comes back to you. And all of those guys know they can call me at any moment and they're going to get all my attention. And I know I can call them at any moment and I'm going to get all their attention. As far as specifics, I was thinking about Garrett Clegg, who in 2009, I believe it was, maybe 2010 September, started emailing CT Pan, and I hardly knew who he was. I'd seen CT; he'd come over for the year, and I'd seen him finish in the quarterfinals at the USAM, and kind of, this at the time random Asian kid that just showed up in the US and was playing well. But I didn't know he had any connection to Seattle or anything. And Garrett Clegg, unbeknownst to me, just actually started messaging him and trying to, and it just, and after about three responses from Pan, Garrett says, "Hey, he seems really interested." I said, "What?" And I said, "I didn't even know you were messaging." He goes, "Yeah, why not?" And I love that about Garrett. I mean, we would never have gotten CT Pan if Garrett wouldn't have kind of gone out on his own and believed that we could get CT Pan. And I love that about Garrett. He always shot for the, always, he believed everybody should want to come to the school. And that was awesome. I just got done with 5 years with Armin. Armin and I spent 5 years together at ASU, and we got to build this program together in a lot of ways. And COVID time, he taught me so much. We'd spend hours and hours every day just talking philosophy, and our deal was we are going to clarify our philosophy with such perfection, and why we do everything we do and what we do and how we do it, and that we, decisions are easy, that we're super clear on who we are. And I learned so much through that process with Armin. Our big, I don't know if you follow us on Instagram, but we put a lot of energy into that. And that was all Armin. That was his initiative. That was his idea. And he understood why it was important and how it was important and how we were going to do it and how the discipline needed to be on it. And it really was a program changing focus for us. So there's just a couple little things. I've learned so much from all of them. I continue to learn from them every day. I truly do talk to at least one of them every day, and probably at least once a week or every 2 weeks to all of them.
There's a humility in there. I mean, you're a very successful coach, one of the best in our profession. There's a humility there that makes you a stronger coach. I promise you, it makes you stronger.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what you mean, but
well, what I mean is you're humble enough to learn from your former assistants, your current assistants. It's like that makes you a better coach because you're humble enough to do that. It's hard because we all have egos. It's not that easy to say, can this guy who I hired help me? Well, yeah, he can help you. If you're paying attention, he can. So I love that about you. That's great.
It's funny, I mean, you have these image maybe of what these coaches are, and I can come off strong and decisive and all that, and I know I can do a good job and all that, but these guys are probably really surprised when they get here that I really, really need their help and advice. Like, I put a lot on them, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. What do you think? And I really mean it. Like, I'm not just doing that for, to give them experience. Like, I need them to tell me what we should do a lot of the time, and I trust them. And so they tend to rise to the occasion and play the role very well and help me a lot. Yeah, I need them.
Yeah, and that's one way you can help advance their career too, because you stretch them. They have to stretch themselves to make decisions. It's really good. So on that note, what's the best piece of advice you've received from another coach, an opposing coach, somebody you compete with that gave you advice probably early in your career, but it could be last week? What's the best piece of advice?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I think it tends to come early in your career because that's when you're learning maybe the most. O.D. Vincent, I could go back. There's so many pieces of advice, but there's certain things that ring in my brain. One of the things he said, this may not be the best or whatever, but it was interesting. When I first got there, he's like, the most important relationship for this program, for you, for me, is with our women's coach. And I had never heard someone say that. And there's, at times there's conflict between the programs in college golf. And he made me understand that relationship has to be rock solid. And so I've had always, I think, really good relationships with our women's teams. Both places I've been, the teams have been almost connected. And I think that served me and our program very, very well. Odie also, he used to say this all the time. His dad said it to him. He says, everybody does 95%. Very few people are willing to do the last 5%, and those 5% make all the difference. And I hear that in my mind all the time when I'm pushing, but maybe there's a little bit more I can do. I think of Odie in that. So those are a couple little things that I learned from them. I've learned so much from all these guys, and hopefully I continue to keep learning. I think that's maybe the signature of greatness in players and people and leaders, is the ability to continue to learn and grow.
Because if you don't, you're going to get lapped, and it just happens, and you're going to get trapped in your own patterns, that may or may not be healthy or useful or effective anymore too. So really well said. And O.D. Vincent, he's left a hole in college golf. That guy was going to win national championships for sure. He was great at Washington. He was great at UCLA. I know he's great at whatever he's doing right now. So he was a great coach. And you mentioned making peace with and enjoying and fostering a relationship with a women's coach. Mary Lou Mulfler was one of my favorite. The year I coached women's college golf at Oklahoma State, she and I connected. I don't know why and I don't know how. And the day she won a national championship, we were there to watch the men. We were there for the men's tournament, that was going to happen the next day. And I went over and gave her a big hug before her team won the national championship that day. I think it's huge. And our women's coach, Jay Goebel, and I have a great relationship. And that's something we've worked on to make sure, because both programs help each other.
Agree 100%. Mary Lou was just awesome to work with. Such a fiery competitor, a very, very loyal person. And she's one of my best friends, and she was awesome. And I have similar relationship with Missy here at ASU. She does an awesome job. She's a hard worker, and her team is really good. And we get along great. The teams get along great. It just makes everything better. And it's been good advice that Odie gave me.
Yes, I agree. So I consider you an elite recruiter. A ton of people out there do. So I don't want you to give all your secrets. That wouldn't help you at all. However, I do want you to say, what are the things you really look for in the evaluation process? As you're evaluating whether or not this kid should come to ASU or not, or University of Washington, wherever you were, what are the things you look for?
Well, I mean, we all have these like elaborate answers to this question.
Right.
And it's like you get it at camp and you come up with all these things that you're looking for. But there's one thing that's by far the most important, and that is, can they play great golf consistently? And so anything dwarfs that, to be honest. Like it's easy to say, oh, I want this and this, but the reality is if they can't play great golf, none of that really matters. There's one little nugget. I mean, I have lots of thoughts on recruiting. We could have our own podcast about that, but I have a thing I call the Dan Potter rule. And Dan Potter is another one of my former players and assistant coaches that was an awesome coach at Boise State. He actually moved on to do different things, so he's not currently coaching. But he said, I call it the Dan Potter rule because he says, when you're out there, you just have to you have to just feel what do you feel about the player? And he's like, there's times where he's a great player and you don't find yourself pulling for him. And he goes, that's not the guy you want. And there's times where you find you really want them to do well. And those are the guys you want. And so he would kind of tap into this kind of gut feeling of like, just watching, like you're watching a sporting event. How much do I find myself pulling for this person and hoping to see them succeed? And how much am I or on the other hand, am I bored watching them? Do I not like how they go about it? Or do I find myself kind of hoping they don't win? And so that's kind of the Dan Potter rule, is what do you really feel about watching them? You're going to be with these guys 24/7 for 4 or 5 years and connected with them forever. Your career is in their hands. You need people on this team that you want to spend your days with, that you're willing to make, you make a lot of sacrifices as a coach. Are you willing to make them for these guys? So you need to believe in their character, believe in who they are as people, and be willing to kind of make the sacrifice for this person. So the Dan Potter rule kind of appeals to that. And I think everybody, if they hear that, probably can kind of relate. Like there's players I've recruited that are highly ranked, really good, but when I watched them, I just didn't feel it. And then there's others that maybe we're a little under the radar, still good players, but man, did I love watching them and recruit. And I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to keep watching them, and I was so happy for them when they won. Those are the guys you want to bring in.
Love the Dan Potter rule. I've never heard that, but I will take it with me. Trust me. And I think on some level, I've done that before. I mean, it's like I'm really pulling for this guy, and I want him to come to Baylor for all the right reasons, and I know I can coach him. So that's really good. Of all the play, because you and I both know this, and it's said often that the coaching is about relationships. It's about lifelong relationships. It's about making kids better men. Those are all wonderful cliches, but they're true. They really are true. But when you look back over a career of a lot of years now, what's the most inspiring thing a player has done? And if you can't nail it down to one, or if you don't want to say the actual name, that's fine too. But something that makes you emotional talking about it, that kid really inspired you, the coach.
Yeah, I don't know if this is number one, but it's the one that comes to mind as first when I think about being inspired or touched emotionally. Mason Anderson was here for 5 years, and Mason Anderson was I'd say his first 2 years, really first 3, maybe even 4 years, really pushed my buttons. And he and we had a kind of a love-hate relationship. he had this habit of, whenever things were going well, doing something extremely stupid. And there's all kinds of legendary Mason Anderson stories around here. And he knows it. Like, he knows he was a pain. He knows he was difficult. And to the point where he came in his senior year. And again, he'd been good, and we'd had a key role and a lot of success. And he came in and goes, "Hey coach, I'm think I'm going to come back for another year." And I said, "Well," and I was real honest with him. I'm like, "I don't know if I want you, Mason." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, like, if you're going to come back, you need to change, man. You need to be this way, and this way. I need you to be a leader. I need you to, develop yourself." Because, and I won't go into all that conversation, but he really took it to heart. He came back for that senior year and was an absolute gem of a leader. Like, completely transformed who he was. And he was a good guy before too. He was just a little rough around the edges. And he came and he had an amazing senior year. He was absolutely leader on the team. And he was the guy that was the year that we lost to Texas, where he went 3-0 and the first guy off in match play against often their best player, and won 3 matches for us. Just a hero. Well, Mason didn't grow up with a bunch of money. He didn't have PGA Tour U status when he left, didn't sign mega deals. And he went up and played the Dakotas tours out of college. And he did pretty well up there. And he came in as soon as he won some money up there, and he dropped a pretty big check on my desk.
Mm.
And he says, "Coach, basically you saved my life. I would never be where I was without this program. And I don't need this money. I want you guys to have it." And it was, to this day, I get emotional even just thinking about it. Like, this guy, the purity of soul for him. And he's done it again since, by the way. And now he's doing well in the Corn Ferry Tour, but he would do anything for this program. And it's such a good reminder with the guys that sometimes make it a little tough on you, that to hang in there and keep believing in them, keep loving them, keep giving them opportunities, and keep coaching them. And Mason Anderson, if you ask anybody, Mason Anderson is about as good a human being as you can possibly find. He's awesome. And when he dropped that check off, it really hit me deep. Yeah.
Wow, that is a great story. And it reminds you that what you're doing is really, really important. I mean, really important, because you did change the direction and the trajectory of his life. You didn't know you were doing it perhaps at the time, but what you did for him, that's what coaching's all about, Matt. That's what it's all about.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing to be able to do this. There's a lot of guys that you hear people say from time to time, like, "Oh, I can't believe my livelihood's in the hands of 18 to 22-year-old kids." Like, well, who better to have it in the hands of? I get to pick who these guys are, and I get to shape how they are while they haven't formed all their opinions and habits, and that's a lot better than. I mean, I can't imagine somebody better to put my career into than some highly inspired, elite athlete, 18 to 22-year-old kids. It's pretty awesome, and it's fun to be a part of their journey.
Yeah, and he hadn't been jaded by life yet. I mean, he's still got the enthusiasm and excitement and the dreams, and all of it's in front of him. They're fun to work with, especially
Yeah.
a kid who does dream big. I think that's wonderful. So you and I share a lot of passions together, obviously golf and coaching golf and helping kids, but we share another one, and that is the love of books. I still have a library. It's a quiet place that I go where I can read books, and I have those books around me. And I think it's a lost art anymore. But why do you love books? What kind of books do you read, and what's your favorite one you're reading right now?
Okay. I have loved books from when I was a kid. I read hundreds of books as a young kid. My dad used to always give me coaching books. Actually, I remember reading like Bobby Knight's Season on the Brink, and John Wooden's They Call Me Coach, and Pat Riley had a book about excellence, and
Winner
Bob
Within, I think.
Bowden. And all of these books I read. My dad made me read them. He made me read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and How to Win Friends and Influence People, and The Magic of Thinking Big. All these, classics, right? So I grew up with books, and I was an English major in college, which meant I read tons of books. I was really into literature and that. And I'd say, so now I read a variety. I do read leadership management books. I read a lot of geopolitical stuff. I'm fascinated with geography and how the world works. Recently, I've been reading a lot of history on the Israel-Palestine conflict. So I've become a quasi expert on that. Currently reading a biography on the Prophet Muhammad and his life that has been fascinating. I was just recommended a great book, and I started this morning actually. One of my close confidants, Randall Stutman, recommended this book by Sally Jenkins. It's going to be awesome. I can already tell. It's called The Right Call, about sports and how they apply to life.
Mm-hmm.
I love books, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Marie Kondo. She's the Japanese, famous Japanese author about tidying up, right? So one time I read this book, The Art of Tidying Up, and it's about, your space, and it's a mega bestseller. It's about, like organizing yourself and whatever. And she said, get rid of all these old books. And so I bought into this book, and I'm reading it with my wife, and we're cleaning everything out of our house. I'm like, you know what? I'm keeping 30 or 40 of my favorite books. I can always buy any book again. So I threw out all these books. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of my books that I threw out, and it's the worst decision I've ever made. It literally I mean, in my entire life, I don't know if I have a regret bigger than getting rid of all those books that had shaped me. My sister, I remember early on telling me, like, you are what you read. And I really believe that. Anybody who's been my assistant knows that we're always reading books together. I'm passing on books, they're passing on books, we're talking about books, our staff reads them, our team reads them. I just think you can't do better than reading all the time. There's always more to learn.
Oh, wow. And that is part of that philosophy of being a continuous learner your whole career. And that's why I read. I'm currently reading a book called Living Life Backwards by David Gibson. I read biographies all the time. I think biographies about great coaches, great athletes, great leaders in the world. You see what really successful people have done, and you see how they've overcome. I love books about overcoming. And in a 2-year period, I read 10 books about Depression era athletes overcoming. It was like off the charts. And one of them was the Boys in the Boat, with the University of Washington crew
Yeah.
team. So I just think there's so much in books that I would much rather watch or read the book than watch the movie, because the movie can't develop the characters the same way the book can, and just really, really impressive. So thank you for your love of books. You and I need to champion that, because it's a lost art. Our kids aren't doing it as much anymore.
It's funny. The guys know I talk about books a lot. And when they come in as freshmen, they're like, no, I don't read. I don't read books. And I'm kind of used to that. And I try to recommend a book or pass on a book, and they never read it. And then usually by their junior, senior year, they might pick up a book and like, hey, this is actually pretty good. And then, hey, coach, do you have a book on this that maybe I should read? Or do you have and all of a sudden they become readers. And I think, man, if there was one thing, and my daughters are all readers too, which I love. My wife's a reader. Like, if I could instill one thing in these guys, just to pick up a book and read and, want to always learn. I read an awesome book recently by Adam Grant called Think Again. It's definitely one to read, by the way. And
wonderful. That book
good.
gets your attention from the start with that fire on the mountain. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, just making you realize that whatever you think, you're probably wrong. And if you're not willing to rethink it, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that is a wonderful book. So you are a reader. I am as well. But you do something that I don't do very much of, and that is travel. We travel in recruiting, and we travel with our team. Why the love of travel outside of your job?
Well, so I had never really traveled much. I grew up in a small town in Western Washington, small farm town. I hadn't really been out of the country. And my freshman year, coach sent me to a tournament in Guadalajara, Mexico. And it was kind of last minute. I didn't know where I was, and I got plopped down, and I had no ride, no tournament, no hotel. I didn't know where I was going. I'm in the airport trying to figure it all out, and I just had the time of my life. I loved being in an unfamiliar environment and trying to figure it out. And like, all of a sudden, this food is amazing, and these people are so nice, and I didn't have any idea. And then I went on a mission. I went on a church mission to Venezuela, and living 2 years in Venezuela kind of taught me that I can kind of survive anywhere and in any circumstances, and that people are wonderful wherever you are. And so I don't know, it incited in me a desire to travel. My wife also, she spent a couple years in Russia, central Russia, and so we went through it, and we lost all fear of travel, I suppose. And then over the years, I've just had really impactful trips. I've been to the Middle East multiple times. I've been to Asia many times. Like I go once and I'm like, oh, I need to go more. And
Hmm.
we did this with our daughters. We took our daughters all over the world. We've taken them to South America. We've taken them to Asia a handful of times. I have a deal where early on when they turned 14, I said this early on when they were young, like when you turn 14, you and me are going on a trip wherever you want. You can pick it out. And I got the idea. I was reading a book called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. And I realized that this is about the age where they turn, where they kind of are less interested in dad and they kind of go a different direction. And it was like, this is the age I need to solidify my relationship with my daughters, and this would be a great way to do it. So they would spend, I mean, this was daily conversation around the dinner table of where they're going to go. And they change all the time, right? That's going to be, oh, no, I want to go here. I want to go here. Basically, my daughters then are, anytime they learn anything, they're imagining themselves being able to go there and do it and see it. And so by the time they even turned 13, when they had to decide, they'd already been in their mind on all these different trips. Anyway, they had to choose on their 13th birthday where they're going to go. They helped plan it with me. And then when they turn 14, we go and we do it. And we spend, a week or two together wherever it was. So I have three daughters. My first one went to South Africa. We went all around South Africa and did a safari. She was really into animals and that, and we had a great time there. My next daughter wanted to do like a alpine hiking deal, and it was going to be New Zealand at first, but the seasons weren't right, so we ended up choosing Norway, which was off the charts. So we hiked many, many miles every day, stayed in these little lodges and did, this amazing Norwegian trip. And then my last daughter, Hinkley, she chose a Mediterranean cruise. So we were in Italy, Greece, and Turkey, and anyway, so that's kind of a really long answer to your question. I love traveling. And what I find, honestly, Mike, is like I can't leave my job when I'm here. It's in my head every second of every day and at a high intensity. The only way I can kind of focus on anything different is to put myself in some really far away, unfamiliar environment where I have to focus and have to have my senses about me. And so I kind of like the deeper I can travel, the more I can get away from this for a few days. And I've really come to love that too.
Boy, I didn't know this about you, Matt, and thank you for telling me that, because it's like now I've got a whole new perspective on that. And my wife would love to travel, so maybe I need to do more traveling with her. How about that?
Well, if you ever want to, just talk to me. I believe so deeply in it, and I can give you great trip ideas. If I haven't taken the trip already, I've imagined taking the trip or I've planned it. So I would love to talk. If you want to take some cool trips, I can tell you where to go and what to do.
I'll have to include Pam in that conversation because I want it to be where she wants to go to.
Yeah,
So, hey,
absolutely.
finally, to end on, I want to kind of take us down one other road, and that is you and I are getting ready to be conference brothers. This next fall, you're going to be joining the Big 12 conference. Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado are joining. Really excited for that. Losing Texas and Oklahoma to the Southeastern Conference was a blow to our golf. And then when we got Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado, it's like, man, we're not going to miss a beat. I'm really looking forward to having you all in our conference.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited too. We're still in the Pac-12, so I can't, say too much
I
about it.
got you. I got you.
But I feel like we had lost our way as a conference, and this needed to happen. And I think it's a great thing for Arizona State University. And I'm excited for our golf program too. I'm looking forward to looking east a little bit more. I'm looking forward to building new relationships. I'm so excited for Southern Hills and where we host the Big 12 championships every year. There's this Big 12 match play, which is kind of a new thing for me, and hearing people talk about it, they seem so passionate about it. And I don't know what this is, but sounds fun. So I'm anxious to do that. And it just seems to be a nice fraternity of coaches that are working hard and into it. And I think there's a bunch of great teams. I can't wait to be in your conference, Mike. And I've always loved coaching with you and talking with you. I've always looked up to you and admired you. And I look forward to competing with you more often.
Well, I think it's going to be great. And we are thankful that we get to see you this spring. We'll see you at the ASU Thunderbird event in April. We always love that event. Papa Go gets better every year. Whatever you guys are doing there, it's a special place. So Look forward to seeing you then. I just want to wish you the best of luck this spring, and I guess I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of months.
I want you to know that in Washington, in our facility, there was a stairway, and right above the stairway on the way out that you had to pass over and over was the words, "Leave it better than you found it." So I believe in that. I love that that's the name of your podcast, your book. And thanks for all you do and for always leaving everything better than you found it. There's no greater measure of character than someone who leaves it better than they found it. So thanks for all you do. Look forward to seeing you soon, and appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, Matt. Thanks again.